Hey, we're going on a side quest.
You've probably heard about Elizabeth Holmes, the fraudulent and disgraced CEO of the company Theranos. There are television shows and documentaries made all about her story. A lot of people feel very compelled by Elizabeth Holmes, not necessarily by the illegal things that she did, but also because of her persona. She had a very forced CEO personality. The black turtlenecks, the fake deep voice, the constant lying about her success. It just really angered the public and caused her to become one of the most talked about and hated people across the internet. You'd think that no one, intentionally or otherwise, would try to emulate such a persona. You'd think that, but you would be wrong. You see, someone on BookTok has probably incidentally emulated a lot of Elizabeth Holmes' quirks. That person being Audra Winter. Audra Winter has not done anything illegal to my mind, but a lot of the hatred towards her stems from a weird CEO personality that she has developed. If you heard Audra Winter tell it, she is an author who was thrust into sudden viral success. She sold more pre-order copies than any indie author before her, and now she's the head of a large six-figure business with 15 to 20 employees working under her. She is making big moves in the publishing industry, and it's only a matter of time before her universe goes multimedia. In reality, Audra Winter is a TikToker with a fairly impressive follower count who experienced some early virality, fell off for a little bit, but then put her book up on TikTok Shop, and TikTok pushed her book in the algorithm, resulting in a respectable number of pre-order sales. Her book was released, critics hated it, and now Audra Winter is probably one of the most hated people on BookTok. So, what happened? I am fascinated by the story of Audra Winter. I've already talked about the book itself, but I find her whole CEO persona to be extremely interesting in the same way I found Elizabeth Holmes' persona to be extremely interesting. So today, we're going to be talking about Audra Winter, going through her story, going through her journey into publishing, and how her career kind of fell apart, and what this all means for the influencer life that Audra is trying to live. Without further ado, y'all, what the hell happened?
Hi, my name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of The World of Guardians, which is a Zodiac-based fantasy world that I've been working on for 10 years.
And it's not fair to essentially say, you can't say you didn't like my book, because if you do, I'll prove myself.
Okay, so there is a comment I see all the time when people are talking about Age of Scorpius. Yeah, the book sucked, but the marketing was good. I've already talked about why the book sucked, but what about that marketing? Was it really good? Well, I have some thoughts about that. So, the marketing for this book was done almost exclusively on TikTok. Like I said in the intro, it experienced some early viral success. Few million views on one of her first videos, which is very, very exciting, especially for a young influencer who's just starting out on any social media platform. Seeing a 7-figure number, I mean, come on, that is a big, big deal. However, after that one video that got pushed in the algorithm, her page fell off, like a lot of viral pages do. This caused her to try and replicate that viral success, but she was trying to force it. She would spam her page with low-effort videos explicitly with the purpose of causing her book to go viral. She did a ton of pity marketing around her book as well, and if you're not aware of what that is, pity marketing is essentially where you cry at the camera about how difficult things are going and how much you need this to succeed, using that emotional argument to push your audience into making that purchase.
This is something that I have worked on so deeply for this long. And I'm losing to the TikTok algorithm.
And look, there is space for that kind of marketing, but I think it's rather distasteful, especially when done in this industry, and especially when done so repeatedly. It comes off as like kind of disingenuous and needy, almost a little bit manipulative, like you're trying to use the pity of your audience to get sales, which is sort of what she was doing. Now, a lot of these videos, in fact, the vast majority of these videos, were not getting the views that Audra wanted, but when I was looking through her page, I found that she did receive more viral success when she put her book for pre-order on TikTok Shop. I've seen other creators talk about this, and I might be diving into the what is true dimension with this point, okay? Like, I am not entirely certain of how TikTok's algorithm works, but I will say when pages like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, when direct purchases are put on those pages, those platforms have incentive to push them into the algorithm a little bit more. I'm not saying that putting a TikTok shop link in your video will instantly make it viral, but I am theorizing that it may help you just a little bit. It certainly helped Audra Winter, or at least that's what it looks like. After putting her book on pre-order, her videos started really popping off. And to be frank, not all of her videos were desperate slop content and pity marketing. Like, she did make some pretty good vlogging content. She had a good eye for the fast pace of TikTok, and I think she genuinely had something going here. Is she a generational marketer who led a great campaign? No. This is TikTok content. It's nothing more than TikTok content that got lucky in the algorithm. But it's not terrible, not all of it at least, especially after she started getting some traction. I think it just pushed her into that mindset that allowed her to make more cool stuff. Okay, cool, the marketing's great, but what about the book itself, Crispy? Well, you know, I made a whole video about it, but I know you're not going to watch it, so here's the spark notes. The book is titled The Age of Scorpius, the first book in the world of Guardian. The world of Guardian revolves around the zodiac signs, which determines the fate of everyone born amidst its realms, dividing them into 4 competing factions. Very tropey, but hey, it works. This is Book Talk, come on. The protagonist herself is an own voices character, which means she's similar to the author. They're both queer and neurodivergent, and yeah, that definitely got some sympathy and some attention. People love own voices stories. The author also had a very compelling sob story behind her publishing, because she used to have a publisher when she was younger, because she's been working on this book for like 10 years, ever since she was a child. But that publisher from when she was a kid, they dropped her. They dropped her because they stopped doing sci-fi and fantasy entirely. And this was really crushing for Audra. If you're wondering what those sob story TikTok videos were about, they were primarily about this.
And then at the 3-year mark, when I finally had it done, they dropped me and got me to this point. Which I'm glad I didn't stick with traditional publishing, but if I hadn't...
So after becoming disillusioned with the industry, Audra decided to self-publish her book. It's a compelling story, and hey, if a sob story works in America's Got Talent, it will work on TikTok. So, what did those pre-order numbers look like? They look good. They looked really good. She apparently sold over 6,000 copies overall on pre-order. And considering the slightly high price of the hardcover book, this is like really impressive. Selling 6,000 copies of anything makes you a solid success in my book. There are established authors that don't sell 6,000 pre-order copies, whether they be ebook, hardcover, or softcover. So yeah, Audra Winter was successful, and her TikTok personality really reflected this change. You see, she went from making videos like this to quickly switching up and making videos like this.
I am now a 6-figure business owner of a digital creative studio. I made a really interesting choice as an author, and that choice was to sell pre-order copies of my book here on the TikTok shop, and I ended up breaking records and selling 4,700 of them. It would actually be more than that because I now have to limit them to 50 per day because I need to be able to keep up with the bookmarks that I'm shipping out with them.
Yeah, you see that Elizabeth Holmes connection? She's even wearing the black turtleneck. Come on, man. Again, I doubt it's intentional. I just think the parallel is deeply funny. Now, Audra has developed a CEO persona. She is the head of World of Guardian LLC, a multimedia creative studio that has 15 employees, including artists and musicians. She is making big moves to bring the World of Guardian to life. I will note that all of this is based on one product that has not even released yet. She's constantly talking about her team, her employees, and this leads to a very natural question. How the hell did a 22-year-old author who hasn't even released a book, how did she get all of these resources? How does she have 15 employees? I've seen some very irritating theories about her being like a Nepo baby who actually has infinite money behind her, and I don't think that's true, guys. I think there's a much simpler explanation to her 15 employees, and that is that there aren't 15 employees, guys. What are we doing here? Come on. Look, I have a pretty similar financial situation to Audra, and I can tell you that if I had 15 employees, it would probably bankrupt me. Hell, if I had one employee, it would bankrupt me. I know YouTubers who are millionaires who do not have 15 employees, okay? Valkyrie, one of the biggest Twitch streamers on the platform, she has like 20 people behind her, all right? The fact that Audra Winter is claiming to have the same kind of company as Valkyrie and her media brand is crazy. So no, Audra Winter does not have 15 employees. What I think happened here is that Audra is just being a little bit misleading. They're almost entirely contractors. These are artists. These are musicians. These are people who work on commission. I do the same thing. A lot of YouTubers do. And look, I love the artists that work with me. I love Jane, who does my gorgeous character art for all of my TTRPG games. I love Melanie, who worked on my banner and multiple wallpapers for me. I love Austin. She designed my Crispy Rat avatar and designed a lot of the graphic design elements of our show. I love Vaughn, who did all of our music. These people are all incredible, talented, and amazing. They're also sure as shit not my employees. Audra, what are you doing, man? I'm leaving myself open to the possibility that maybe she's paying these people hourly so she can avoid paying them any sort of insurance. So maybe it's slightly possible, but yeah, I still think we're really stretching the definition of employee. I highly doubt that Audra's company is as big as she is making it sound. Especially since there's another little detail that I think is important. Audra claims that one of the people working under her is the editor of The Hunger Games. And look, if you're working on a book, I want you to have a good editor. And if you have the editor behind The Hunger Games, I think that's really awesome. But wait, editor behind The Hunger Games has a little asterisk next to it. We should probably check that out. She did not have the editor behind The Hunger Games, Jennifer Reese. She's actually working with Lisa Edwards, who is an editor who worked on The Hunger Games in publishing. She never actually edited The Hunger Games, she just happens to be an editor. So she technically has an editor who worked on The Hunger Games, but only technically. That's a pretty big asterisk that she never bothers to clarify in any of her videos. But it's okay, I think we should still take her completely at her word, I guess. Okay, look, we've got World of Guardian LLC, we've got this multimedia brand, Audra Winter has her success, but what about the book? The actual book that she's releasing and hasn't come out yet. What happened when it released? Did people like it? What? 2 stars on Goodreads. Actually, less than 2 stars on Goodreads last time I checked. It hovers around like 1.5 to 1.8. The reviews were rough. The book was largely completely unedited. Like, you could see repetitive sentence structure, copy-pasted words, she misspells things constantly, even words that she herself made up. The characters are extremely bland, or at worst, extremely unlikable. The plot has tons of contrivances. My biggest issue with it was sentence structure. Some of her sentence structures are very juvenile. She kept on saying that she's been working on this book since she was 12. And based on the writing, yeah, I think that makes sense. Audra would reply to the criticism, at first mostly indirectly. She would create a TikTok where she clarified that her protagonist was neurodivergent. So that's why the grammar is really sloppy. That's why she's exposition dumping. It's because this person's just hyper-fixating. I mean, you don't write with proper grammar all the time, do you? And look, there's 1,000 things I could say to that, but I'm just gonna say that I'm sorry, that's dumb. Like, you can write a neurodivergent character while still making your writing something that's comprehensible to the reader. This book felt sloppy. This did not feel purposeful at all. And frankly, this excuse, it's borderline insulting to a lot of neurodivergent people, including myself, man. Come on. Now, this is not her last reply, definitely not. Her next reply would be text. She would not be on camera. It was just a block of text where she clarified that, look, there were a lot of errors in this book. We're gonna do a second pass. We're gonna redo it. We're going to fix up all these issues and give you an improved ebook, which is good. I think that at the very least, this is the best you can do in this situation. I would prefer that you release a good book in the first place, but dedicating to at least fixing the major grammar issues and repetitive sentence structure and copy-pasted words that you forgot to take out, yeah, that's a good start. However, this block of text also talks about the haters, the cyberbullying. The inkling of a problematic response is in this text block, and we're gonna see that get a lot worse. There's a little bit of foreshadowing from this video back in June, where she's filming just her forehead. What is she trying to recreate the no bitches meme? What's going on here? I don't know why people film that. Anyway, look, in this video, she's replying to one comment, just one comment where she is extremely defensive.
I had a much longer video recorded responding to this, but I don't want to humor you that much because you are clearly trying to get attention.
Like, I get it, hate comments suck, but like, come on. This is a very legitimate, if mean, criticism, and if it's so bad, just ignore it. You putting it on blast on your page is just creating a Streisand effect. And a Streisand effect this was. By trying to squash out the criticism, she was just bringing more attention to the criticism. And people on BookTok were starting to take notice of this whole situation, especially since the reviews are rolling in on Goodreads more and more and more. More people are finishing this book that they pre-ordered, that they paid a decent amount of money for, and they are deeply unsatisfied. And TikTok creators are starting to create their own videos about this subject. But most people were pretty rightfully critical of her actions throughout this controversy. That CEO personality with the 15 employees, that was not helping in this case. With these TikTok creators now taking notice of her page, they were getting pretty rightfully critical of her for bragging about her success, all the money that she was making, the company that she was founding, all the employees that she had, when she released a product that was overwhelmingly pretty poorly received. Like, it was frustrating. So with all this criticism, how is Audra Winter going to handle this? Well, she went a little further than the block of text in a forehead video. Let me tell you that much. Okay, so the book, it's being re-released. She's gonna be redoing the book. But she's adding more art. She's adding sprayed edges. So this means that the re-release of the book that people were dissatisfied with would be $30 frickin'. She marked up the price, which is just like, dude, what are you doing? I don't even know what to say to that, man. I mean, re-releasing a marked up version of a book that people were largely dissatisfied with is crazy. She was also talking about hiring an editor from within her audience, which just served to piss people off more. Like, you shouldn't be getting a person from within your audience to edit your book for you. You need someone who's impartial, who doesn't care about you or your feelings. Getting one of your fans? I mean, come on. That's a terrible idea.
And I do have a lot of authors and writers and editors who follow me, and there are people who want to help, and I'm seeing that and I'm recognizing that. So I want to be able to find someone from my readers and from the people who are supporting me to be on my team.
Also, stop talking about your team and all your employees and all the brainstorming meetings that you have as a company. Like, it just comes off as so needlessly corporate in a book talk space that largely hates that kind of persona. This was just making things worse. But Audra, she'd take off the turtleneck, she'd turn down the corporate speak, and come back with a far more personable video that just made things so much freaking worse.
My name is Audra Winter. I am the author of this book. It was released about a month ago, and I have lived through the worst week of my life because of it, and the past week.
Okay, this next video is 16 minutes long, and let me just thank book lover Laura for editing it down to take out all of the unnecessary silences. Laura, I love you. You did so good at archiving all this stuff, and this video would be way more of a pain in the butt to edit without your help. So, salute to book lover Laura. Subscribe to her channel. She makes really good content very, very frequently. Good stuff. Anyway, thanks aside, Audra Winter's video was very overwhelmingly guilt-trippy. That's the word I would use to describe this whole mess. This was already something that she was sprinkling into her content. In that previous CEO video, she was making statements about how her health was being impacted by the failure of the book.
This impacted my health. I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping, I was up having panic attacks about losing everything that kept me alive for many, many years. I was worried about losing the team, about these people that I have grown close to over a course of months.
But at least there, it was somewhat professionally delivered. Here, she's turning back on that pity marketing persona. And look, I'm sure that she's actually feeling very emotional about this, but I can't help but feel that implying that your life is in danger, that harm will come to you if your book is not successful, I'm sorry, but I find that implication to be deeply disturbing, horribly disrespectful, and incredibly irresponsible.
Like, you're saying this is affecting your safety? To which my answer is, it was affecting my safety. It literally felt like I was being crushed by the world. I have never experienced heartbreak to that level. I have never experienced fear to that level. What do I do? Like, how do I respond to these people who are being, like, obviously aggressive?
I think it's good for creators to talk about their mental health. I do. But putting the responsibility of your mental health on your audiences is awful. It's a bad thing to do. It builds up an unnecessary parasocial relationship, and you should not be doing it. It gets worse when you realize that in this video, she is blaming one guy for creating the hate train against her, which is just an absurdity. Like, I understand the point that she's making on platforms like TikTok. Sometimes it really does take one video to start a controversy, to start a hate train.
It takes one negative yes and creative avenues. It takes one negative video to spin it out of control.
But I will say that even if it's just one person who starts a movement or exposes a controversy, that doesn't mean that one person is necessarily in the wrong at all. But two, the other big problem is that one person didn't start all of this. Like, this started with the Goodreads reviews. It started with people getting the book. She had 6,000 pre-orders, and they didn't like what they bought. She claims that everyone's really positive about the book before this one video, but dude, I've been keeping up with this. I read your Goodreads reviews. I saw your video responses from the previous section, and guess what? The guy who made that one video, allegedly the guy being T.L. Lewis, I checked out his video. His video comes after all of this controversy. He didn't start anything. And by the way, he was like the nicest guy in his video about Audra Winter. Like, he was so sweet about his criticism. He was giving her very actionable feedback, and her claiming that he is responsible for this hate train that has endangered her life, allegedly. That's horrible. Like, why would you do that, dude? Why would you do that? Come on. She also is claiming that this is a misinformation campaign because people are claiming the book is unedited when she had an editor, the editor behind the Hunger Games. Now, the editor behind the Hunger Games claim is a little bit misinformation-y itself, but we're going to ignore that for now. Look, My point is that it doesn't matter. Whether or not you had the book edited or not is irrelevant. The book reads like it was unedited, and frankly, for a product that you are selling to 6,000 people, I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable by any means. You need to get your book edited, and when you do, you have to listen to their edits and actually put them into action, which did not happen here. Yeah, this video, it's rough. It's not the worst apology I've ever seen. It's not the best either. No ukulele, okay? It's not peak. We will never again reach that level of peak, I fear. But it's still rough, guys. It's genuinely, no joke, one of the worst decisions she could have made. And it just made people more upset about her actions and more willing to make videos about the Audra Winter scandal. It spread over here to BookTube, which is how it got onto my radar. Look, I don't want Audra Winter to fail. I really don't. I'm serious. I want this book to be successful, to be everything that she dreamed of. I'm Audra's age. I was also thrust into an online career, and it's scary. I empathize with her in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I'm also willing to recognize the mistakes that she's made, and furthermore understand that her being young is not an excuse. I mean, come on, guys. If I got into a controversy and replied by saying, guys, I'm 22, you can't blame me, that's stupid. All right, come on. But anyway, what she's doing now, I think, is the right steps towards that success. She has gone off camera, back to the blocks of text. She is continuing to update her audience weekly about her progress on editing the book and the steps that she's taking. And so far, I mean, they're good steps. Like, she's talked about getting an editor who is completely unrelated to this project, never read Age of Scorpius, never heard of it before. That is perfect. That's exactly who you need. And furthermore, going off camera, being more detached from your audience, I think that that is the right move at this point in time. Stop trying to be an influencer or a CEO before you're an author. People are here for your book. Be an author first. Write the book, then do all the other stuff. I think that this is the right play. At least for now. Everything could get worse in like a week or so, but hopefully she'll continue down this path. Okay, but what's the takeaway? What's the message overall? That kids are stupid? I don't think so. Look, I see a lot of people talking about this drama and saying that Audra Winter didn't get hate, she got criticism. Which I think is ridiculous. Like, yeah, a lot of the criticism was just criticism. They were just trying to help her. A lot of it came from her audience who wanted to see her improve and make this a book that they wanted to read. But, on the other hand, I do think she got a lot of hate. My point is that it doesn't matter whether it was criticism or it was hate, because whether we like it or not, that kind of negative feedback is part of the industry. Look, Audra Winter doesn't just want to be an author. Okay, being an author is writing your book and disappearing into the void. Audra Winter wants to be an influencer. Or at least that is the view that I got from watching her content. Like, look at her TikTok. This isn't about the book. It's about her journey to create the book. I'm not seeing anything about her writing inspirations or her style. I'm not seeing anything about her team. I see content about her leading her team, but her team never show up. It's just her, front and center. That is the mark of an influencer, not an author. And if you want to put your public persona out there, if you want to release your book at all, you need to be ready for hate, for negative feedback. I'm not trying to talk like it's a good thing. I don't like it when people make negative videos about me and crap on the things that I do. It sucks, but unfortunately, it is the price of doing this business. Whether you're a small-time D&D YouTuber, a major Twitch personality, a big K-pop star, this life has its dark side. Matthew Mercer. He's done everything that Audra Winter wants to do. He's the dungeon master behind Critical Role, now a multimedia company. They've got comic books, books, a Twitch show that was at one point the biggest show on the entire platform. They have a successful Amazon show with multiple seasons, a spin-off on the way, and they've got a video game coming. They've done everything that Audra Winter wants to do with World of Guardian. But Matt Mercer, after all his success, he still does get that hate. He gets a lot of it, too. And I'm just going to let him say it.
Everything has its cost. That's a
yeah.
phrase that comes up often. Everything has its cost. A lot of great things, wonderful things I'm so grateful for would never change. And that gratefulness will never go away. Everything has its cost.
Oh, yeah. Everything has a price. And if you want to live this life, then you need to be willing to pay it. And Audra Winter, she just wasn't. Look, I think it's better if she takes a step back, just writes her book, and makes something that people actually want to read. Because the whole influencer thing, I don't think she's built for it. But yeah, that is the story of Audra Winter. Quite the turbulent and tragic tale. If you were loyal to the Tavern and watched the whole thing, then leave the comment. Everything has its price, so let me know made to the end of the video. Also, if you enjoyed our content, then you might enjoy that Matt Mercer interview. It was awesome having my idol on the show. It's linked up in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to support us directly, then you can head over to our Patreon where you get access to tons of exclusive content. Remember, your help makes these videos possible. In essence, like, comment, subscribe, support. I will see you all next time. Farewell.